And tell me what's happening out here today.
So there's an occupation in Wheeler Hall, which is the English department building and one of the largest buildings on campus. We're not actually sure who's inside of the building. It sounds like there are about 60 people that are up there, and this is a protest against the Regent's decision to raise the fees on the students.
Right.
As I understand it, they've asked for amnesty for 32 African-American workers who were laid off, and that's the demands that we know so far. This seems to be, it's not clear whether this is coordinated or not, but there have been building occupations on other buildings across the UC system. So the main administrative building at UC Davis was occupied yesterday. Campbell Hall at UCLA was occupied yesterday. This is happening across the system, and this is all a response to the fee hikes.
What do you do here at the university?
I'm a professor here.
And give me your name again?
My name is Shannon Steen.
Okay, and what department?
In Theater, Dance, and Performance Studies, and in American Studies.
Okay. What are the issues? I mean, you talked about some of the demands that students have, but this is part of something much larger.
It is part of something much larger. There are a couple of different issues that are going on. One is the way the most immediate issue is this issue of the fee hikes. This is going to drive several of our students, many of our students, out of our classes. They won't be able to finish their degrees. These are people who have worked so hard to get into Berkeley, to get into the other UC schools, and they're being driven out by what is effectively a tax on parents and a tax on families because the state has this massive budget shortfall. It's also a problem about the funding priorities within the UC system, though. Questions like where is the money that students are paying on tuition going? So one of the things that happened yesterday during the Regents vote is that one of the Regents voted or mentioned before the vote that the administrators at the UC system aren't paid enough. Well, the administrators are not involved in any of the core teaching or research mission of the university. The faculty are, our baseline staff who run our departments are, and we have big questions about why they're worried about administrator salaries at a time when we're losing our staff who work with and for the students, and we have faculty furloughs and we have classes being canceled. Why is that their anxiety, and how can they complain about that right before they vote about a tuition hike?
You have a position with an organization called SAVE. Tell me what SAVE is and what you do with them.
So SAVE the University is an organization of faculty that organized over the summer when the budget cuts first came through and were handed down from Sacramento, and the UC Office of the President first began to respond to the cuts. And we have a couple of different goals. One of them is to ensure a kind of financial transparency and accountability. We want to make sure that the books are open on how the money that we do have within the U system is being spent in the way that our administrators are telling us it's being spent. We want to make sure that that money is being spent in ways that we feel is in keeping with the core teaching and research mission of the university. And we're also really concerned about some of the decisions that are being handed down by our central administration within the UC system, the Office of the President. So we're monitoring the decisions that are being made right now and for the future of the UC.
The whole state is in a bad way right now. We just heard a report the other day that we can expect $20 billion deficits for several years to come.
Yes.
What ought the university leaders to do in response to that, besides asking the state, demanding more money from the state?
Well, I think that they could just start asking some questions about where the money that the state has is going. One of the things that we know that many of us find very disturbing is the way that funding prisons has really overtaken funding education in this state. So, for example, 20 years ago, 2% of the state budget went to fund prisons, and 17% of the state budget went to fund higher education. Today, 9% of the state budget goes to fund higher education, and 10% goes to fund prisons. So I think that our state should be asking major questions about whether or not that's really where we want our money being spent. Do we want it spent being locked up people for drug offenses, for possession of marijuana, for 3 strikes you're out? Or do we want it going to fund people to be able to have classes to drive the economic engine of the state, to help us get out of this recession? The universities in many ways are the recovery plan, and if we don't continue to fund higher education in this state, it will make our recession worse.